Every night at 2:13 in the morning, the radio goes silent. Not the radio, the traffic. For about 60 seconds, no one within range of our tower puts anything on the air. No medic calling a hospital. No deputy running a plate. No engine giving a size-up. The carrier hisses, clean and empty, and the wall clock ticks through it, and at about 2:14 somebody somewhere keys up and the world resumes. We call it the dead minute. The department has called it that longer than I've been alive. I'm a captain on a volunteer fire and EMS station in a county I won't name. 28 years. 3 bays, a kitchen, a bunk room, a watch room with a radio rack. An old unit-end scanner runs all night and picks up everything in an 80-mile circle. You learn to sleep through it the way farmers sleep through cattle. You don't sleep through the dead minute. Nobody talks about it exactly. But you can feel it coming. At about 2:11, the older guys in the kitchen go quiet without noticing they've gone quiet. The rookies learn, after their first time joking through it, that nobody laughs back. People check their watches and don't know they're checking. The refrigerator in the corner picks that minute to be louder than it should be. Coffee cups stop being lifted. The dispatcher on our county channel, if she's old enough, will wrap up her traffic by 2:12 and find a reason not to key up again until 2:14. I asked her about it once at a retirement party. She looked at me like I'd asked her something rude and changed the subject. The new guys notice it in their first week. We tell them that's the dead minute, don't worry about it, and we change the subject too. I was told the same thing in 1996 by a captain named Russell, who'd been told it by the chief before him in 1971. Whatever it is, it predates me by 2 generations. I didn't discover anything. I just stopped looking away. On certain nights, the silence isn't empty. There's something underneath, hiss with a shape inside it, a breath between transmissions. Then, if the night is right, and I have never figured out what makes a night right, the carrier opens, and you hear another department working. I know what skip sounds like. Atmospheric ducting drops a Texas dispatcher into your living room on a humid night, and we've all heard it. Skip is sloppy. This isn't. This is local clean. Like the transmitter is 2 ridges over instead of 2 states. The call signs are wrong. They're not departments running parallel channels. They're departments that don't exist. Engine 4 out of Linwood, Engine 7 out of Hadley. And Hadley is real, but Hadley runs 3 engines, not 7, and has since before I was born. Tanker 12 out of a station called Crown, a dispatcher whose tones don't match any pager set I've ever heard. Close, not ours. I started keeping a stenopad about 9 years in. 99 cents at the drugstore. Date, time, unit, call. Over 15 years, I filled 3 of them. What you learn from stenopads is that it's the same department. The voices age. There was a man dispatcher who started sounding tired around 2014, slower in 2017, gone in 2019, replaced one night by another voice. The female dispatcher came on after the new one's first transmission and said, "Welcome aboard, Marcus," which is the kind of thing you don't say on the air, which I took as a kindness. I never heard the first man again. There were oddities I never wrote down. A unit marking responding before dispatch toned them out. A weather statement describing thunderstorms on a clear October night. A transmission that cut off mid-word. Engine 4 on scene, single-story resident. And didn't come back. Wasn't followed up on, as if everyone on that frequency had agreed not to notice. Once, deep in the minute, I heard 2 voices over the same carrier at the same time. Neither stepped on the other. Both were clear. They said different things. My brain refused to separate which words belonged to which mouth. Afterward, I sat in the watchroom with my hands flat on the desk for a long time, and I could not tell you what either voice had said. Once, and this is the one I would like to tell you and have it not be true, Marcus paged Engine 4 to a motor vehicle accident. He gave an intersection, the intersection in their county. Then he said, in the flat voice dispatchers use for traffic advisories, "Be advised, MVA at that location at 0214. Multiple injuries. Extrication probable." A minute before it happened. Engine 4 acknowledged. Russell rolled. The carrier closed at 2:14. At 2:17, a deputy in our county put out an MVA at the intersection that corresponds in our geography to the one Marcus had named. Multiple injuries. They called for the jaws. I sat in the watchroom with the steno pad open in my lap, and I did not write any of it down, because I didn't know whether Marcus had been ahead of us or whether we were running the call somebody else had already finished. I still don't know. I want to skip ahead now. The rest is just so you'll be where I was. In October of last year, I was off watch. My back went. The year before, the chief moved me to days. But I came in to cover for a man whose wife was having a baby. I hadn't sat overnight in 14 months. The watchroom smelled the way it always smells: stale coffee, floor wax. The fluorescent over the rack hummed at the same pitch it had hummed at when I was 30. The vinyl chair creaked when I shifted. The wall clock ticked. I had a paperback I wasn't reading. I felt the dead minute coming the way you feel a front coming through the side of the building. At 2:11, the scanner started getting quiet. At 2:13, the carrier opened. Marcus toned out engine 4 from Linwood for a residential alarm. He gave the address. The number was the number of the house I grew up in. The street was different. The cross streets were the cross streets of my childhood block, laid over a map that wasn't ours. Engine 4 answered up. Engine 4 responding. I did not move. There was something familiar in the voice. I didn't let it be a name yet. Cadence. The half-second pause before keying up. Every time, the way you pause when you came up before everyone keyed up on top of each other. 2 short keys of the mic instead of saying clear. The stress landing on the first syllable of responding instead of the second. Habits I had not thought about in 15 years, sitting in my own ear like they had never left. I told myself it was a voice that sounded like one I'd known. Voices do that. Old men on the radio sound like other old men. I told myself that for about a minute. Then Engine 4 cleared the alarm and marked back in service. And as he marked back in service, he said, Engine 4 in service. Copy that. Copy that. Not 10-4. Not received. A habit from before copy that was standard. A habit that had, in 1996, made him sound to a kid like me like a man from a different country. I knew before I admitted it. I did not admit it for another 40 seconds. The wall clock ticked. The coffee in the mug at my elbow had gone the temperature of the room. The fluorescent hummed. The carrier had closed. The regular traffic had come back. A deputy in our county cleared from a welfare check. I went out to the parking lot. I sat in my truck for I don't know how long. I couldn't get the key in the ignition. My hand wasn't shaking exactly. It was doing a thing where it would lift toward the column and then forget what it had been lifting for, and lower again. The windshield fogged. I rolled the window down and the cold came in and I sat in it. His name was Russell. He was my captain for 8 years. He died in 2008 on a call we don't talk about, on a road in our county, with me as his nozzleman. I was 27. He was 60. He sounded older now than he had when he died. He sounded tired. I came in for the next 11 nights. He worked a chimney fire. He worked a lift assist at a nursing home, and he talked to the woman on her kitchen floor the way he used to talk to patients, like he had nowhere else to be. Like the call was the only thing happening in the world. He told her his daughter's name. He told her it was a Tuesday. He told her she smelled like his grandmother's kitchen. He meant it. You could hear that he meant it. He drank coffee on the air. You could hear it. He always drank coffee on the air. Black with 2 sugars, which made no sense, and which he refused to defend. He laughed once at a joke I didn't catch from the captain of Engine 7. His laugh was the same. The same! He called a younger firefighter's son on the air against Academy protocol, the way he had called every man under 40 son for 30 years. There were things I remembered without meaning to. The way he drove the engine. Right hand on the wheel. Left resting on the doghouse between the seats, thumb tapping against it in time with nothing. 8 years next to me. I had not thought about it in 15. The way he ended every bad shift. He'd put his hand on the back of my neck for a second and say, "Get some sleep, Russ." He called me Russ because my first name and his last name were the same word. He thought it was funny. Nobody else ever called me that. After he died, I never heard it again. The thing I had to decide was whether to key up. Our station can transmit on the county fireground. There was no technical reason I couldn't put my voice on that frequency during the dead minute. There was no way to know if it would reach anything. What I was afraid of was closing the door. If I keyed up and the seam shut because of it, I would have ended the only place he was still working. And if I keyed up and nothing happened, if my transmission went into nothing, then I'd know the door had only ever been a window. And he had never been on the other side of it in the way I needed him to be. I wanted him to stay where he was. I wanted to keep him. I sat with that for 3 weeks. On a Thursday in early November, I came in for watch. I made a pot of coffee I did not drink. At 2:11, the scanner started getting quiet. I felt it the way I always felt it now, lower in my chest than before. At 2:13, the carrier opened. Marcus toned Russell out for a medical, chest pain, residence. "Engine 4, responding. G." He talked to the patient. He was sitting on the floor with her. I could tell from the angle of his voice. He was telling her about the weather. He was telling her his daughter's name. He was telling her it was going to be all right. In the middle of it, he stopped. There was a half-second of dead air on his end. And he said, off mic, but clear, "Get some sleep, Russ." Not to the patient. I put my hand on the mic. I kept it there. The fluorescent hummed. The wall clock ticked. The coffee at my elbow was cold. The refrigerator in the kitchen down the hall came on. I could hear it through 2 doorways. My hand was on the mic, and I could not make it move, and I could not make it leave. I could feel the metal of the body warming under my palm. I could hear myself breathing the way you hear yourself breathing when there is no other sound in a room you have been sitting in for too long. I thought about how, if I keyed up, I would never be able to unkey. I thought about how he had just told me to go home. I thought about how I had not gone home. I keyed up at 2:13 and 40 seconds. I said one word, "Cap." That's what I'd called him on the air, the 8 years I worked under him. I held the mic for one more second. I let off. The carrier stayed open. A hiss. The kind of hiss a mic makes when somebody's holding it and not talking. It went on for what I am going to tell you was 4 seconds, but which was not 4 seconds in any way that I lived through it. Then his voice. Quieter. Closer. Like he was leaning in. "Go home, son." The carrier did not close. The hiss went on, empty, patient. The way a room sounds after somebody has stopped speaking and you are both deciding whether to say anything else. 8 seconds, 10. I am not certain. Then it closed. The dead minute ended. A deputy in our county cleared from a welfare check. A medic somewhere south paged for a lift assist. The world resumed. I sat in the vinyl chair with the mic still in my hand and could not feel my hand. I did not move for a long time. I have sat watch 11 times since. The dead minute still comes. The traffic still stops. There is nothing underneath it. No Linwood, no Engine 4, no Marcus, no Russell. 60 seconds of clean nothing. The way it must sound at every other station in the network. And then the regular night coming back. I do not know what I did. Maybe a man who had been working past his time finally got told to clock out. And I was the one who told him. And he was grateful. And he went. Maybe the door wasn't mine to close. And I closed it. For everyone who came after me on this department. And they will never know what I took from them. I retire in the spring. I don't know what I'll do with the steno pads. If you ever sit watch somewhere, and you notice the radio goes quiet around 2 in the morning, and you think you hear something underneath it, listen. Make sure of who. Sit with it as long as you can stand to. They are still working. Somewhere on a frequency that should not carry, the men we have buried are getting in their trucks, answering up, talking to frightened women on kitchen floors. The dispatchers are toning them out. The coffee is black with 2 sugars. The shift does not end. You are allowed to hear them. You are only allowed to hear them once.